I don't even play Magic, and even I am going to try to find it. That is an excellent summation of what the card, the One of One Ring, has done to not just the MTG community, but the explosion outward that it has caused. We've got a lot of price speculation tweets from the community, and we want to discuss exactly what price we think this card is going to land at.
Yeah, you pretty much have a better chance of getting struck by lightning 30 times within 15 seconds than you are going to be able to find this card. Let's go ahead and talk about all the tweets, and then stick around to the end of the video. We have some other cards to talk about from different games: Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, baseball, basketball, football, bunch of stuff. We're going to talk about those after we talk about the bidding war that has broke out over the One Ring.
Let's set the foundation for the entire discussion, Jake. The high water mark, or the benchmark, or the flagged price that everyone is referring to for or against in this discussion is the recently sold Black Lotus PSA 10 that sold for $540,000, making it the most expensive public sale of a single MTG card ever.
Yeah, the reason it's important is because this is a card from 1993 when the game first came out. So the thought would be, well, a card printed in 2023, it couldn't possibly be worth more than a Black Lotus that just sold for $540,000. Well, you would think that, and it would make sense, except for the fact that the One Ring is indeed a serialized one of one, only one exists. So there are more Alpha Black Lotus that exist than the One Ring. So this is kind of a big deal. This is kind of like stepping into, baseball, basketball card territory, where you're going to have like a signed autograph card with like part of a jersey. This is essentially Wizards of the Coast saying, yeah, there's going to be tons of cards of the One Ring from Lord of the Rings, but there is a special variant that exists, and it's only going to exist here. So the price is really going to be whatever somebody wants to pay for this card. So it's going to be really interesting to watch where it goes.
So just over $500,000. That's sort of our comparison price for the most expensive MTG card to this point. Public sale of. Let's talk about the odds, Jake. Chris over at Shy Style Gaming, friend of ours, friend of the channel. The odds of getting the One of One Ring are less than 0.00003%, according to insert odds posted on Amazon. In other words, WotC projects that about 3 million collector booster packs will be in circulation. You'll need to open about 250,000 collector booster boxes at 440 each, which is $110 million to find the ring. And then Chris tells us good luck, so we appreciate that, Chris. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so this would be a good point to mention FOMO and how chasing after this ring is a fool's errand. You're just gonna get lucky or you won't. There's no reason to possibly, that the amount of money that this card will be worth, like if you had to open $110 million worth of product to find it, this is like something that I guess Elon Musk could do as a meme. You could have Mark Cuban, do this as like a meme, try to find this card if they were so inclined to do it. But yeah, this is really good information. So shout out to Chris. Thank you again for this. Yeah, I won't be chasing this card, but it will be really exciting to see it get pulled if it does.
So that began the public offers. The very first one that I saw was from this account, Charlie Trarbach. I'm pronouncing the name incorrectly, most likely. Public offer for $25,000 if you open this. And that sort of started this half a meme, half serious, quote unquote, bidding war on Twitter among accounts that were reputable and accounts that just wanted to make jokes about the entire thing happening. Edward tweeted public offer 2.5 Bitcoin. And so that's just over $50,000, depending on when you're watching this. Bitcoin is like $27,000, $28,000, $29,000 per one Bitcoin. Yeah. But Edward offered 2.5 Bitcoin for anyone who can get the One of One ring into his hands within a week of it being released. We'll arrange business class airfare anywhere in the world for in-person delivery. Well, Jake, we had people replying to that and saying, nah, I'll give you $100,000. So about twice, roughly, what Edward was offering, and a free cruise.
You know
We
what's
don't know
crazy? Is
this
like
is a
business
serious
class.
offer?
Business class is sometimes a lot more expensive than a cruise. but the 100K on this is a pretty big deal.
Well,
I mean,
they followed
yeah.
up. Same account, MTG Emissary here said, in response to Pride MTG, I've been privately offered 7 figures if I deliver it, and I'm afraid there's multiple people offering that, honestly. So, the hearsay, right? This could just be somebody talking out their butt, not making a serious claim here. But we've seen it claimed that 7 figures are being floated around in the interior of the collector sphere. And that
for anyone
kind
who
of makes
doesn't
sense.
know what 7 figures is, it's $1 million.
$1 million plus. To me, this kind of makes sense. And we'll get to this with some opinion tweets that we've pulled too. But I don't think that this is going to be a public sale. I think that this thing is never going to see the light of day. Some really, really rich collector is going to have it, regardless of who opens it. Anyway,
And I'm sure someone's already in the comments, but Post Malone, I do believe that was a private sale of 800,000
right,
for a Lotus.
Bash here is going to clear that up.
Yep.
Bash is a great MTG Finance Twitter follow. Bash and I like to argue on Twitter, and he calls me a moron, but he's still a really good MTG Finance follow. Seen a bunch of takes that the One Ring will be over $1 million, and he says no shot. Highest public sales at 511. We know now it was 540. Highest private sale is 800K to post. First edition set of the Lord of the Rings trilogy is 85,000. He said people I know with actual cash who want this are all barely over 50, and box public offer of 100 is legit. So we've seen that, and we've seen somebody co-sign that that's probably a real thing. He says that he thinks it's going to be between 100 and 150 tops. Jake, do you think that's accurate? Low, high? Where do you fall on that?
Again, it's the kind of thing where people are going to pay whatever they want to pay for it. You know, he brings up a first edition set of Lord of the Rings trilogy, 85,000. How many of those exist? How many of those are in existence? You know, the 511 for the PSA 10 Alpha Lotus. How many of those exist? How many PSA 10s are out there? The ring is a one of one thing. Yep. So, I mean, I know that I keep coming back to that, and that's silly, but we're about to talk about some cards that have exceeded $1 million price tag. Now, Granted, a lot of them are in sports, but yeah, we're going to talk about some of it. I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility, because when you have a one of one thing, it's about the buyer.
Yeah,
you know,
it's the exclusivity.
It's the exclusivity of it. You know, if you have somebody who is just like a nut for MTG and a nut for Lord of the Rings, and they have the money, sure, I think it could go for over $1 million. Do I think it would be a responsible purchase? No, probably not, especially for a card that's printed in 2023. But it is a one of one. It's the first time that Wizards of the Coast has done a one of one. Like, think about that as well. This is going to be their first ever one of one serialized card ever.
And the first price is worse, so it's always going to hold a higher value just because it sort of led the charge. That's part of its story.
Sure, it is part of its story. And the other thing as well is, if you have bulls, meaning people that think the price is going to go up on this card, if you have bulls that want the price to be low, they may be acting like bears. So like this guy Bash, take it with a grain of salt, okay? I'm sure Bash is great. Bash could be the kind of guy who knows it's going to be over $1 million.
For sure.
But he wants it to be lowballed so that the card has, you know, room to grow in the future. It's not like $1 million out the gate or whatever.
Right.
I would just take all of the bull and bear sentiment with a grain of salt, because
100%.
it's going to be the most.
This is all speculation. Everything.
It's a crazy volatile. It's going to be insane. The price on this.
Pride MTG is another good MTG Finance Twitter follow. Has their ear to the ground on a lot of information here. Makes the point that people with real money typically don't like drawing attention to themselves, and the bounties that we're seeing all over Twitter during that first week after this announcement are probably peanuts compared to what the price actually falls out to. Slick Jagger also thought the same thing. 5-figure public offers for the One Ring are so effing hilarious. And just to clarify, Proxy Guy goes way too low, and Slick agrees 100%. 5 figures way too low. And so the other side of it exists out there. And then we get to whatever the actual eventuality is, right? All of the people in the comments right now, you're currently typing, and I'm going to freak you out because right now you're typing, oh my God, this is just going to end up in a landfill. Oh my God, this is just going to end up in some guy's closet for 20 years and then it'll be open later. I just beat you to the comment. I got you. Ha ha. Happy Valentine's Day well here. Done. Another good store owner, MTG Finance follow here.
I love when you beat him to the comment.
I try to beat him to the comment.
You got to do that more. You got to do that more.
Tweet says the worst thing in the world is going to be some random person opening it. Local game store being like, I'll give you $5,000 for that right now. They don't know what they have. And it just turns into a bad thing all around. And so, Jake, I pulled this tweet specifically to sort of highlight what the reality is probably going to be is much like the books. It's just going to fall into the bottom of a river. And eventually, 30 years from now, it'll be found. And that'll be the reignition of this entire conversation. And the end of the story is, oh my gosh, I sat on this box for 30 years, opened it on a whim, and the one of one was in there. So, you know, it's like this is all really fun to speculate about, but the reality of even finding the card is so difficult to comprehend to me that I doubt any of these conversations even come to fruition.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You know, sure, it could be found, but it could also be the kind of thing where the person that opens it has no idea what it is and they just shelve it away.
Or play with it unsleeved on their kitchen table.
Yeah, like it could be, the parent buying their kid a pack of cards and the kid just opens them up, spills milk on them, and then all of a sudden, whoops, let's throw these cards away. We'll get you a new pack of cards.
Cuts the ring out so they can put it on their finger and play like it's the actual ring.
Yeah, you never know. And maybe there will be some people that are like, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory opening hundreds and hundreds of thousands of packs to try and find it, but I really doubt it. I just think it's not fiscally responsible, and most people know it's not going to be fiscally responsible. I think it's an incredible thing to drive hype. It's an incredible thing to be like, hey, we have this thing and it does exist. It could be the kind of thing where, tinfoil hat, a big, powerful company that prints the card has the box that it's in and it's just sitting at home base and it's going to get opened and all of a sudden some big reputable somebody has the card and it explodes out of nowhere and everybody's like, ooh, here it is. And it was calculated. The public was never going to get it. That's another option too, is it's just like, yeah, it's at home base and it's just going to remain there until it's time for it to come out. So I don't know, dude. There's a lot of different things to consider.
You're right about it driving hype. I've seen Moist Critical. Charlie covered this on his channel. The biggest Lord of the Rings creators are all covering this. And that's just publicity that all Wizards had to do was be like, oh, yep, there's a one of one in this set. And now bigger channels, larger than the MTG sphere. The biggest creator for MTG on YouTube doesn't even have 1 million subs. Now they're getting coverage of their game on channels that have just millions of eyes seeing this across all these different channels that are talking about it. It's a huge, huge promotion for them. And I think a fantastic thing overall.
So now we're going to talk about some different card games and some of the most expensive cards that have sold from them. A lot of people know the Charizard First Edition Shadowless base set. This is when it says Shadowless, that means around that frame on the right, there's no shadow. These cards came out in 1999 and a gem mint sold for $420,000. But that's not even the most expensive card from Pokemon. The most expensive card is a Illustrator. This is a Pikachu Illustrator card. Now, please forgive us. We're Magic the Gathering content creators, so we did some digging here. But this card actually sold for a staggering $6 million. And they talk about it here. All of the links for this it's It's all going to be in the description of the video. You can already see when we're talking about, can this Magic the Gathering card hit 1 million? We could see that some of the most rare cards, and there are multiple Pikachu Illustrator cards. Logan Paul has one. They do exist. The question does become, if there is a buyer out there, sure, could the card hit 7 figures? We think about that tweet where they were saying, they've been privately offered 7 figures for the one ring if they can get the card. This, when you see something like this, it becomes more of like, oh, this might actually be possible.
Pokemon, Jake, is not the only place that we see super expensive cards. Let's look at Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah,
top
Yu-Gi-Oh as
of
well.
all time. My lord, $2 million reportedly.
Yeah, so a lot of people are going to know Blue Eyes White Dragon, the first edition PSA. One of those sold for $85,000, but there's a card that's more expensive, and it's this essentially easily the most valuable card on the list. The Black Luster Soldier was an exclusive prize card awarded to the first ever Yu-Gi-Oh tournament in 1999. This is just a card. It's my understanding it's a 1 of 1. If you do know Yu-Gi-Oh, let us know in the comments, but there is a Yu-Gi-Oh card that exists that is a $2 million card.
Yeah, and it is a good comp if this is a 1 of 1 card and it was given out as an exclusive prize, just this one piece, it being a 1 of 1 in another wildly popular TCG, it being a 1 of 1 makes it a great comp for the One Ring. But I look at it and go, well, the One Ring is one of the most popular, iconic literature items of all time. Media items like artifacts. It's just everywhere. It looks the same in almost every artist's rendering, Digimon, Jake, also getting in on it.
Bro, so I tried to do some digging on this one. You can see it is serialized, 74 of 100, and there's not a lot of information on these. So this price could be completely ridiculous, but $740,000 for Digimon Bonds of Friendship, and it's specifically this Gold Prism exclusive. It says population 1, but that means that it's talking about card number 74 out of 100. There's only one copy of 74 out of 100. I guess it's my understanding that there are 100 of these total. If you understand Digimon more than we do, then definitely let us know in the comments. But yeah, it's just a very expensive card. You can even see some nicks on the side of it. Yeah. But yeah, not something that I would spring to pay a lot of money for, but for the right collector, you never know. Now, outside of trading card games, let's talk about sports quickly. In 2017, National Treasures NFL Shield Patrick Mahomes autographed rookie card 161 sold for, or this was a 2017 card sold in 2021 for $4.3 million. And that is a serialized 1 of 1.
8.5 BGS, serialized, numbered 1 of 1, signed, got the patch in there. Obviously, NFL, way more popular than MTG. Just across the board, all these sports are on a different level as far as their popularity. But a 1 of 1 in another card game, collectible card realm, selling for 4.3.
And you can see the grade. The grade doesn't even matter because you have a serialized card. So even though it's an 8.5, it's still selling for $4 million.
Well, and it's interesting. Jake also found this in the basketball realm. 1 of 1 signed patch on there, rookie Steph Curry card. I like here it says PSA near mint 8 auto 10 because it's the only one. It's right there. It's got auto 10 printed on there. Sold for $5.9 million.
Just under $6 million for a card. You can't even play it. You can't even play it.
You just look at this. But Steph Curry, one of the most popular athletes of our time. Basketball, wildly popular sport, infinitely more popular than MTG. It's just the comparison to these 1 of 1s. We don't think that the 1 of 1 ring is going to be a $6.6 million card like this Honus Wagner baseball card here.
Yeah, now this came out of like a lot of these were damaged. This is very, very rare to have this. 1911, extremely old, arguably the most expensive, I guess you could say, trading card of all time. So yeah, very, very different realm here. But I think the big thing about the ring is it's a 1 of 1. So it really comes down to, what does someone want to pay for it? And then we did as much digging as we could, and it's to our best knowledge that the most expensive Star Wars Destiny card is Darth Vader Sith Lord that came out of Awakenings, and it's worth about $31 or $35 after shipping.
Star Wars Destiny dice and cards.
Yeah, what do you think it's going to be worth, Joel? How are you feeling about it?
I think that it's going to be worth less than a Black Lotus. I feel like the game needs that Black Lotus to be the most expensive card. And so close, but not over $500,000. But also, if it ends up being sold publicly for $1 million plus, I'll just go, yeah, I could see that. It's weird now that the highest selling MTG card of all time is a Lord of the Rings thing. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm in the camp where I could see it being like around the price you're talking about, but if it does go above $1 million, it really just has to do with how big a nerd is out there that wants it. It really just has to do with that. 1 of 1, you get into territory that it's really hard to speculate on. And we've seen, like we just talked about, a lot of cards that have gone for over $1 million in different fandoms. So who knows?
We'll see.
Highest level of gratitude to our patrons who power the channel through Patreon. Check out the Patreon link in the description to learn about monthly giveaways, VIP Discord access, and even our official playmat.